185 miles south. A hardcore punk rock podcast.
Hey everyone, if you like the podcast, please like, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And also please consider supporting the show by donating at patreon.com/185 miles south. Once again, that's patreon.com/185 miles south. You can donate $1 a month or $3 a month or $5 a month or $10 a month or whatever you can do. And that really goes a long way. I've been trying to do all these interviews in person just because I think they're more personable. And it's better than the phone. But it's expensive to travel around and, get a motel room so I can set up and shit. This one is a cool podcast. This is Fred Hammer, who's like an old school Nardcore guy. And he did It's Alive Fanzine in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, and did It's Alive Records, which kicked off No Motive, did the Dick Circus 7-inch. That was like a big local band here in the 90s, and did a bunch of cool records. And he's always made, records interesting with stuffing them with a bunch of cool stuff, and he's always got a funny story to tell, so hopefully this interview represents him well, and you guys get to know him if you don't already know him, and if you know him, hopefully you enjoy this as well. So this is the Fred Hammer interview. All right, today we have the legend from It's Alive Fanzine and It's Alive Records, Fred Hammer. Welcome, Fred.
What's up, Zach? How you doing?
We got to start off. I bought you a burrito, dude.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Vegetarian?
Absolutely. Bean, rice, and cheese, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, what year did you get into punk rock?
Around 1983.
Okay.
I had a good friend in Ventura. His parents were best friends with my parents, and he had an older brother. And we went to his birthday party, and the Suicidal Tendencies album had just been released.
Yeah.
And his older brother got that for his birthday. And they were playing it, and I remember we were in his room, and I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, this is just, I can't even explain it.
Yeah.
It's just, just like, I knew right then, like, that's what I wanted to listen to.
Yeah.
And I remember just staring at the cover, just thinking, this is incredible.
And in 83, you were 14 or?
No, I was a little younger. 83, I was around 12 or 13.
Okay, that's right.
I was in junior high.
Yeah.
Fremont Junior High
in
Oxnard.
Cool. And then when did you go to your first show?
Went to my first show probably 6 months later or so. 6 months, maybe a little longer.
Uh-huh.
There was, so my friend Mark from Ventura, then my neighbor Artie, who I would ride BMX bikes with around town. It was me, Mark, and Artie, and my mom gave us a ride to the show and dropped us off, and it was in Camarillo. And I can't even remember where it was at.
Yeah.
Just a little hole in the wall. I remember getting dropped off and just being scared to death.
Yeah.
But I was just like, this is it.
And who was playing? Do you remember?
Dr. No was playing.
Okay.
Dr. No, and I believe maybe Habeas Corpus.
Okay.
And I remember I went in, and there's this local punker guy, I forget his name, but he had a mohawk, and he delivered newspapers. And he was there, and he was headbutting people and just going wild. And people were fighting, and I was just like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so wild. So how are you hearing about the shows?
I think just word of mouth, but also Salzer's Records.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go to Salzer's Records. I'd ride my BMX bike there, and they'd have flyers, etc. And I would just hear it by that. And also Blake Cruz of Stalag 13 lived 2 doors down from me.
Oh. So
he would ride his BMX bike up and down the street, and he would borrow my dad's tools to work on his bicycle. So he would tell me about shows and stuff, and I'd see Stalag 13 practice, and
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah, and where were they practicing?
Then they were practicing, I believe, at Ron's house.
Which would have been...
I think Oxnard Shores.
Okay.
That area.
Uh-huh.
And we'd go there, and I can't even remember how I'd get there.
And this, well, you ride your bike, right?
Yeah,
I rode my BMX all over town.
Yeah, I'd ride my bike or just hop a ride or whatever.
Yeah, and this would have been the Stalag 13, like the demo era. They're just fast.
Yes, just fast.
And what is it like? You're just sitting in the garage or the room and just listening to them go, and it's wild.
Yeah, it was wild. And also, when I was that age, that young, I looked really young. I mean, I literally looked like I was probably like 9 years old.
Yeah.
You know, like weighed like 70 pounds. And so I just, I was a kid and I could just really just sort of hide.
Yeah.
Just stand in the corner and no one would bother me. And also, I went to Fremont Junior High in Oxnard, and down the street, Dr. No would practice in Kyle's mom's garage.
Yeah.
So I'd ride my BMX bike over there after and watch them practice.
And they were a more like well-rounded band by that time.
Yes.
Stalag they came into their own on the LP, I think. The demo's not that great.
Right, it's a little thrashy.
Yeah.
A little generic.
Yeah, pretty generic.
But yeah.
I like it, but the LP stands out, and all that Dr. No stuff is good.
Yes, all of it.
Every single era, I think. Even through like the Metal Blade stuff is... I mean, you got to have an attention span to listen to a 7-minute song, but
exactly.
It's still good if you can get into it.
No, I remember This Island Earth wasn't out yet, but they would practice those songs in the garage.
Yeah.
And I really liked them. And somehow I think Kyle had the artwork to it, and he was showing us the artwork and the lightning, and yeah, it was just wild stuff.
That's a cool looking album cover. It's like got a vibe.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's really cool.
Yeah, so do you remember like the big 4 albums coming out in '84? Like, do you remember like when the Stalag would come out or what happens next? Or
I don't remember like them hitting the shelves,
right.
Like seeing a record release day or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do remember like going to Salzer's and being like looking for the record, knew it was out or coming out.
Yeah.
Obviously this was before the internet, etc. So I'd go there as much as I can, and then I'd see them on the shelves where I'm pretty sure like the Dr. No and the Stalag 13, the band members. Like I bought it from the band members.
Yeah, because you were actually hanging around with these guys.
Correct.
Yeah, that's like one of the facts that, we pull so much information on Discogs for like being chronological.
Correct.
But it doesn't help when 4 albums come out in 1984. One thing I haven't been able to narrow down is like, well, which one came out first in 94? You know what I mean?
In 84?
Yeah, in 84. My bad.
Yeah,
like, I'm just curious. Like, did the Ill Repute hit in January, and then the Dr. No came out in March, and then the Stalag came out in June?
From my memory, I mean, I could be completely wrong. What I remember is the Stalag came out first, and then the Ill Repute after.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Maybe a couple months.
Yeah.
But that's what I remember.
Yeah. And so that's 84, and then when do you decide to start like participating more than a fan and doing a zine?
Well, I when I go to Salzer's, there was a free fanzine 60 miles north, and I picked it up. And my friends, they have guitars and drums, etc., but I've never been very musical, so I'd bang around on that, but I couldn't really play. And I was like, wow, a fanzine, like anyone can do that. I can do that in my room. And my mom was artistic, so I'd seen, she'd done art, drawings, paintings, etc. So I'm like, you know what? I can do this. So I just, there was a little Xerox place way before Kinko's, like down the street from my house, and I'd ride my bicycle there. And there's some older guy owned it. He was super cool. And, I just start, making flyers and making my zine, and just started there, just in my bedroom.
Yeah. 60 Miles North is a pretty well-developed fanzine, though. That's like a good one to strive for.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I ever got, I never hit that stride, but yeah, it was a great fanzine.
Yeah. So
great fanzine.
What year was It's Alive 1?
I want to say like 85, around 85. And actually it's funny because Santa Clara Elementary Youth Group printed it.
Oh, sick. Because they're like, helping the it's an artistic thing for a youth, right?
Sort of, yeah. Like me and my buddies would go to this youth group at Santa Clara, even though we didn't go to school there. And I mean, we would just goof around and cause problems. But they had a Xerox machine there, and I don't even know how I haggled them. But I was like, hey, I'm making this thing. Can you print it there? And actually, on the first issue, I think it says published by Santa Clara Youth Group. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I was too young. I meant printed.
Yeah.
Not published.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where the first one was printed.
Yeah. That's fucking cool. And who was in the first one?
It was just pictures and flyers.
Yeah.
And some show reviews.
That's cool.
A few show reviews. I think it had a picture of Dr. No, like a Minor Threat flyer. I mean, you know, you gotta understand, I mean, people know this, but like getting stuff back then before the internet was a little difficult.
Sure.
So if you had a photo of Dr. No and a Minor Threat flyer, it was sort of a big deal.
Yeah.
You just couldn't Google it.
Right. That's so cool. And like, were your show reviews just like super positive? Like, this band was sick, and then this other band came on and they were sick too.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much. I
Yeah.
mean, I was just a kid and like, you know, this band rocked and this band ruled.
Yeah.
And I remember in the show review said it was the first time Dr. No played one of their songs, like Burn or
Yeah.
something like that. So that was like a big deal.
Yeah.
And funny about show reviews, because a few issues later, a friend of mine did a show review, and he sort of, not even badmouthed, but just gave a local band sort of a bad review.
Uh-huh.
And at the Skate Palace, one of the band members like approached me and he wanted to like kick my ass. And I was just like this little kid, like, yeah, I don't know.
That's what I was wondering, is because eventually you develop a more critical eye on things,
Right.
you know? But at that time, just everything is rad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it didn't, everything was good, you
Yeah.
know? So, and I mean, I don't mean to sound like jaded or anything, but I mean, a lot of bands, there weren't as many bands then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like nowadays there's 5,000 bands, and with 5,000 bands, there's going to be shitty bands.
Of course.
That's the bottom line, you know? But back then there weren't many bands, so I think they, you know, maybe had to try a little harder.
Yeah. But I think there were a lot of shitty bands back then too, Fred. You've listened to a Mystic Comp or two.
Absolutely. Party Animal.
Yeah, I know. Look at that. Like that third one, the Party or Go Home, is like pretty close to just pure garbage.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And they keep pressing it.
No, I know. It's so funny. So the zine starts developing though, because the first one is just really small.
Right. And then actually the second issue had a NOFX interview, and I'm 99% positive it was the first ever NOFX interview ever done, because I had seen the band play and I had talked to him and I was like, hey, I have a fanzine and I wanted to do an interview. And they're like, really? Like, okay, yeah. And they gave me their phone number and I called, and I remember the dude's like, hey, I'm washing dishes, I'm doing this, but yeah, let's do it. And then I was interviewing. He's like, "Oh, this is really cool. Like, this is really the first ever NOFX interview."
Uh-huh.
And I'd bought some. My mom had taken me to Radio Shack, where you put this little like suction cup on the phone into a tape recorder, and it would record it. So, and it's funny because obviously NOFX, you know, they're famous. You know, they've done a lot. I remember like emailing them and telling them like, hey, I did this fanzine. And I mean, I know those guys, not like good friends, but you know, like, hey man, what's up? Like, I did the first ever NOFX interview, and they were like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, you know.
Cool. They were in Santa Barbara at the time?
Yes, they're in Santa Barbara. They're in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're an interesting band.
Yeah.
Those records are bad.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. I mean, and like, you know, people talk like, I don't care who you ask, no one would have guessed what they had become. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were just part of the scene, just dudes cruising. And then, I mean, good for them. It's amazing, but how successful they are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
No, I know. Well, a lot of that is him doing his own label, right?
Right.
I mean, that's where the real wealth probably comes from.
Yeah. He makes and I didn't even know this, but Chris Dodge of Slapaham Records and Spaz worked at Fat Records.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I heard that on a podcast the other day. But yeah, I think he gets a lot of money from his label, but you know, the band does pretty well.
That's true. Well, I mean, they stuck with it, and also like, one of the great unsung records, because people look at like the late '80s as punk kind of being down. Even though it's like a great time for hardcore music, like traditional punk is kind of down.
Right.
But Rock and Roll Nightmare in 1987 is like a mind blowing record.
Yeah, that record. It's funny. It's just I think that record is so far ahead of its time that people just didn't get it, and it just sort of got lost in the mix.
It kind of still is. Like if you listen to it and try to like pick it apart, it's a wild record.
Yeah, I'm not even like a musician, but yeah, it's just everything about it's just incredible. And I think, like I said, I think it's just ahead of its time, and people just got skipped over.
But I think that's the NOFX turning point is that record, because they keep taking stabs at trying to do something that wild, and then they finally like fall into a formula that works for them.
Right.
But like it's the worship of everyone else not really caring about like records of that time, and then them like this is the blueprint and taking stab and stab and stab at it, and then finally kind of figuring out their sound.
Right. And from what I know, when I'm pretty sure this is true, when El Jefe joined the band, I don't know him, but when he joined the band, he was a professional musician, and he sort of set them straight. Like, this is how a band works. This is how you do melodies. This is how you do backup. This is how you record.
Yeah.
And it was just like the perfect storm.
Yeah.
And it just, from then on.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, It's Alive Records, well, let's see. The Half Off stuff didn't come out till the 90s, but when do you make friends with those guys?
Half Off in the mid-late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
They the band Half Off from Long Beach, they had a advertised little ad in Maximum Rock and Roll and Flipside for a demo tape, cassette tape. So I sent off a little cash, got it back, and me and the guitarist Jim Burke started writing each other, then exchanged phone number to talk. And my dad was very involved with drag racing, so he'd go down to like Orange County, LA area, to pick up parts, etc. And he would drop me off there at Jim's house or Billy Rubin's house, and I would just hang out for the weekend.
Yeah.
And it was, they were cool guys and just showed me around the LA Orange County area, took me to shows, and then that's sort of how I made a lot of friends there. Yeah,
is that how you think you branched into hardcore like outside of the Oxnard area?
Yeah, I think so. I think that had a lot to do with it. And also, there was a fanzine, No Loitering, from Oklahoma. This guy, Darren Mock, did. And I was writing him and actually went out to Oklahoma and hung out for, a few weeks in the summer. And, he had a vast knowledge of hardcore, like East Coast, and he showed me a lot of cool stuff. And he ended up playing bass in Verbal Assault.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so he was in a band called Face First.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny, he put out a cassette compilation. I believe it was called Head on Straight or something. And I mean, it had Instead, Half Off, all these great bands. And he gave me a box of them, and it had a huge booklet, etc. And, I gave away some, sold some. And to this day, I never hear anything about it.
Yeah, cassette is just kind of like, it's lost, right?
Yeah.
Because there are a bunch of good cassette comps, and they're all kind of just like lost to history.
Yeah, just.
That's wild. What do you do in Oklahoma for 3 weeks other than listen to records?
It was cool. Just his band would practice.
Yeah.
And, when you're that young, you just drive around, listen to records, goof off. And, it was cool. And he was talking to the Verbal Assault guy, so I know he had all this, like, I think unreleased recordings of Verbal Assault. He would play me. And, it was a cool time.
Yeah.
It was a good time. The only thing sucked, I got chicken pox.
And
they wouldn't let me on the plane.
So what?
So I
you have to take the bus?
No, I got delayed like a few days.
Did you get anyone else infected?
Nah, just me. I was a wreck.
That's late for chickenpox.
Yeah.
Can't that like fuck you up?
Yeah, it sort of fucked me up. I mean, you know what? It fucked me up a little, but I looked like a zombie.
Yeah.
I looked worse than it was, but yeah, it was.
Because I think I got that in like second grade.
Yeah.
That's like when you're supposed to get it, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just, train wreck.
You gotta vaccinate. Or that's the one you don't vaccinate for, right? You gotta just get it.
Yeah.
Who knows, dude? Anyway, so we can't jump all the way to 92 yet to get to the Half Off record, because can you talk a little bit about you had a weird schism with like the Youth of Today guys, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just young, and the thing was, Billy Rubin, the singer of Half Off, was best friends with Ray Capo of Youth of Today.
And this is like what year? 87?
Like 86.
Okay.
Around 86 or so. And then they had a falling out over a girl.
Of course.
Of course. And I don't know all the details. And then, Youth of the Day, Billy had beef with Ray Capo, the singer. And I was very good friends with Billy, and I was young, so I just sort of went along with Billy. And he would tell me Youth of the Day stories, whether they're true or not, I don't know. And so I put something in my fanzine. I interviewed Youth of the Day, and I was sort of like giving them tough questions, and we sort of bickered back and forth. And then they put out the Schism fanzine, and they said some shit about my fanzine, It's Alive, and this is before the internet and big beef, but I mean it was really nothing.
Yeah,
it wasn't. I'm friends with those guys.
That's the only reason why I ask. If you were still beefing now, I wouldn't ask that question.
No, I know those guys pretty well. Youth of the Day, we're cool, and I see them when they're hanging out in California, and it was just some kid stuff.
Yeah.
But the whole Half Off album was really just sort of poking fun at Youth of the Day and like
the Truth
Youth Crew band. Yeah, the Truth.
Yeah.
And I know when the Instead album came out with the 3 kids on the cover, like Billy Rubin just said, hardcore's dead, and he just quit.
That's so funny because a lot of people think that album cover is silly, and I think it's like awesome.
Yeah, I like it. I mean,
I love it. It's Ryan Fredette's only tattoo.
I know. It has to be good.
I know. I mean, I love it, but it's I don't know. It's funny thinking about what gets to be considered hardcore music, because like obviously it's like a faster punk, but if you listen to like that Instead record, it is like safe music.
Yes.
Where like I don't know, it's just kind of funny. It gets considered hardcore, but like listening to like a Slipknot or something, it's like, oh, that's not hardcore. But those people think like, oh, I play hardcore music, Right. And it's like, no, here's real hardcore. Put on Instead. It's like safe, and like your parents are like cool with it. Yes, that's a good message.
Yes. And supposedly the artist went to Rio Mesa High School.
For reals?
Yes.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. So suppose the artist who drew that artwork, the original artwork, went to Rio Mesa High School in Oxnard. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah. So in like 86-ish, what are the shows like in Nard?
They're pretty violent
and big, right? They're at the community center.
Yeah, there's probably 500 people.
That's a shit ton of people.
A lot of people.
Yeah,
a lot of people. A lot of skinheads, and punks, beach rats, just sort of a melting pot. And they were just wild. I mean, I remember going to shows and people, almost every single show.
Is that the door?
I think someone's knocking at the door. All right. And every single show, just pulling the parking lot, and people just fighting in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Even before
the bands. They're just there to scrap.
Even before the bands,
Más tarde, por favor. No. Hoy no. Gracias. Okay.
So, shows, I mean, they were just sort of out of control. It was literally just like a free for all.
Yeah.
I mean, just people fighting and just, it was like pure anarchy, but I loved it. I remember seeing Mark Hickey. This is one reason. There's a few reasons, but I'll tell you one reason the Oxnard Community Center got shut down, because Mark Hickey brought his dog, and the security guard wanted to kick out the dog, and the security guard like kicked his dog or something. So Mark Hickey like punched out the security guard, and from that was sort of one of the nails in the coffin.
Yeah,
just one, but they were violent and just wild times, man.
How were the cops like not hip to it if there were just people fighting in the parking lot?
Well, I mean, people don't live here in Oxnard. I mean, Oxnard has it has a crime rate.
Yeah.
And there's real crime going on in Oxnard. And I think they
know when it's
had
just boys having fun.
Yeah, they had better things to do.
Yeah.
That's the bomb. They had better things to do than punk rockers. You know, people got away with stuff, violent stuff, like you cannot get away with now with cell phones, etc.
Well, if you think about it, like even last night, like at a show like that, no one outside is bothered, and everyone's like, drinking a bottle of liquor and smoking weed, and it's like if we were anyone but a bunch of white punk rockers, you'd be fucked.
Yeah, be in big trouble. So
that's fucked up. So who is? This is like it kind of puts you on the spot a little bit, but it's something that I'm curious about, and probably most people are like, what are the popularity bands or the popularity levels of like the different Nardcore bands, like in like the prime, like the 84 to 86? Like, is Aggression the biggest band?
Aggression is definitely the biggest band.
Yeah,
I mean by far. Like, Aggression. We all knew like Aggression had gone on tour. They'd been in the studio more. Like people out of town knew them. They were rough characters, cool guys, but they were dudes you want to fuck with, and yeah, they were just the top dog. And just this is a random fun fact, but around 86 or so, Aggression and Dr. No played. I mean, walking distance from that show last night on Oxnard Boulevard. Obviously I don't remember the venue, but it's in a little strip mall and everything. And it was Aggression and Dr. No. And I remember, I don't remember what band members, but maybe Kyle got on and jammed with Aggression. Henry got jammed with Dr. No. I remember like there weren't many people there. It was just sort of like, it probably wasn't an advertised show.
Just like a last minute
show. But I remember outside, like skinheads just beating everyone up, like on downtown Oxnard.
And how are you escaping it? You're just like,
well, like I said,
because you kind of like you look young and it's easier to just hug the wall.
I just hugged the wall. I looked really young. I mean, I probably weighed 100 pounds then. And I never dressed punk. I was just surfer kid, just jeans and a t-shirt. So I didn't stand out at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't draw attention to myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I never got bothered.
And are there a shit ton of skinheads in Oxnard? Or are they like coming from Ventura?
Both.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there were skinheads in Oxnard and Ventura. So someone went to Oxnard High, and they were around. They were around. Someone lived on Hollywood Beach.
Mm-hmm.
They this guy Fat Mike, and not the Fat Mike in NOFX. He'd ride his moped around. He was a skinhead.
Mm-hmm.
Would hang out. And there's a skinhead John at Oxnard High who actually passed away right when we graduated. He drowned at Silver Strand Beach.
Jesus, was it a big day?
No, he was scuba diving.
Oh.
He was scuba diving. I don't know the details, but he drowned. I went to his funeral, and so it was,
that's wild.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, so then Ill Repute, Stalag, and Dr. No are all around the same popularity? Like any of them could headline?
Any of them could headline. I mean, just in my opinion, Aggression definitely, and then I would say Ill Repute.
Yeah,
I would say Ill Repute was the second. Like if there were four on the bill, I would say headlining Aggression, then Ill Repute. They're sort of fun band, positive band, just everyone liked them.
And they're on every single comp.
Yeah, and you're right, they're on every single comp. They were accessible.
Yeah,
like everyone
knew at least one song.
Right, everyone knew, and then they're on that Rodney on the Rock.
Yeah,
like that
Clean
was
Cut American Kid.
Clean Cut American Kid. That was a big deal. And then I mean, most people. I mean, if you collect records, etc. But Stalag was not on Mystic Records.
Right.
So at Mystic Records back then, I mean, it sounds funny, but you could go anywhere and find a Mystic record.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, just like they're falling out of the trees.
Yeah.
It's just any place you went, you could buy Mystic Records. And Stalag was on Upstart. And I mean, you could buy it, but, you had to look around a little more. But Stalag was on the Nardcore comp.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of, And then Dr. No is popular. There were some people I think didn't like him because they're a little too metal, which is funny. Even then, but funny now because it's all relative. It's ridiculous, but I mean I think they could interchange, but they were they play around and it's great.
Yeah. So Should we jump to the 90s?
Sure.
Okay. You do your first record. It's half off 7-inch.
Yeah, I think I did that in 1990.
Okay.
1990.
They list you as 92, so you got to give Discogs some shit.
All right, it's either 90.
It could have been 90 because it's listed twice. Like you did a different cover.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think it was 90. I graduated high school in 89, and then I did it the year after.
Yeah, like the Rain on the Parade song.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, the guitarist, I mean, long story short, the guitarist, a half off, who's a good friend of mine who showed me, I mean, you know, he put me on a lot of cool music, take me to all the shows at Fenders, etc. He took his own life, and I was like, man, I got to do something for this guy. And other people were doing labels, and I was like, I want to do a record. And literally, the band gave me a cassette of a couple studio tracks and like 3 or 4 live songs, and I just called Bill Smith Custom Records, and they told me to call this other guy, Lynn Horowitz, and I mailed him the cassette. And then next thing I know, like I have test pressings.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I remember before I got the test pressings, I'm like, they're gonna fuck this up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way this even the live stuff was really, really rough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I sent him a cassette of like 10 songs. I'm like, hey, I need these 3 songs, and I was like, they're gonna fuck this up.
Both those are pros.
Yeah, so,
they never looked down, like because you put me in touch with them probably 5 years later, and they never looked down on kids.
No,
right?
No, it was all they treated everyone the same, and they were cool, and didn't matter how good or bad your band was. Not that I think they would know anyways.
But that's pretty wild that like someone without a punk or hardcore ear would pick out like 3 songs out of a 10 cassette tape, right? Yes. You're like, because that means you had to sit there and listen to it for the breaks. Right. You know, it's not digital.
I mean, I think I gave them times, but even that, it still all sounds the same. And, you know, and I actually was pretty surprised. And the guy who owned Bill Smith, the actual Bill, he was still alive then, man. That guy was the nicest guy ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, he treated everyone the same, and you go down there, and I'd pay cash, and he'd always give me deals, and he'd always put my releases at the front of the line, and he was a great guy. Yeah.
You know, that's one thing I didn't ask about the 80s is, did you ever go to Mystic or have any sort of interaction with Moody?
I had interactions with Moody. I never went to the Mystic studio, but I did I'd write letters to Doug, and I'd talk to him on the phone. And even back then, he was a pretty quirky guy. Yeah, like you'd write him and be like, "Hey, you know, is any new Ill Repute albums coming out, etc.? Is there going to be a Nardcore 2?" And he'd write you back this long letter how, you know, he had produced this other band and did this. And Nardcore 2 is going to come out with even better bands. And, you know, he was always all over the place.
Yeah, he's great to talk to on the phone. I'm hoping he'll do this. He keeps saying no, but I'm staying on him.
Well, you got to stay on him.
I know.
Don't take no for an answer.
No, I know. But
you got to bribe him or something.
Yeah, people got to know. Like, he's just such an interesting character, even if you take out all the punk stuff. Yeah. Just of, like, you know, not only him being in the music industry his whole life, but his father as well. So it's like the whole 1900s, his like family is the music industry. And if you think about like where the music industry was in the early 1900s compared to him still being in it now,
it's incredible.
I mean, what a musical history. And so, what's up, Doug? Come on. I'm not gonna, like, we're friends here. We're not, and I've met him before. He's a nice guy.
And it's cool you post those old non-punk records of Mystic. Because I'd seen those around in person, maybe online, but it's cool you're posting like, you know, clear pictures of them.
Yeah, that stuff is wild. Yeah, it's wild. Weird because some of them have, not the ones I have, but there are some of those non-punk ones that have like real value. Like there's like a $600 one, Friends and Strangers. I don't know if they're like if they're a soul band or a gospel band or something, but it's like, it's a $600 record, like legit.
It'd be very cool to contact those non-punk bands.
I know.
And see what their
experience is
at Mystic Records.
I know. You know what's crazy is he did that Fernando Valenzuela like picture disc in like 82 or 83, and it's like I wonder what the licensing was like that because you know that's with the Dodgers like That's wild.
Yeah.
Was he like way above the board on some stuff and then way below the board on some stuff, or
Probably.
Who knows?
I mean, I think he was just throwing mud at everything, whatever stick. And,
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, it's funny because that baseball player, I mean, I'm not a baseball fan, but I mean, that guy's like a rock star.
yes, he's
I mean,
like world
he
famous.
can't like
guy.
walk down the street. Like
Yeah.
people, so I wonder if he even knows that exists.
I know. And then if that was like 82, 83, like that is like his prime too. Like that's Fernando Mania. Like it is. Like he
Yeah.
was a fucking G.
Yes.
So moving on in the 90s, I don't, did the Dick Circus or the No Motive come out first?
No motive.
Okay. And like, how do you find those guys?
Well,
Because Pat lived right by you.
yeah, Pat lived pretty close to me. I mean, like bicycle distance. But I went to high school with his older brother. His older brother, who's a doctor now, he's a year younger than me. And we were on the swim team together and would hang out. And I think he told me like, "Oh, you like this punk stuff?" And it's funny because his older brother would ask me about random bands. Like, have you ever heard of Gigi Allen? And, you know, like stuff like that. Like, yeah. And I tell him all about it. He's like, oh, my younger brother. And then I went to some party hanging out at the beach or something. I remember the first time meeting Pat. He's like, hey, how you doing? You know my brother, etc. Hey, nice to meet you. And he goes, have you ever heard of Danzig? And it was a serious question. Like it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a joke. I was like, yeah. So we were talking about that, and then we just became friends, and then he just started a band, and then it went from there.
And they were wild because the drumming was so fast.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Yeah, the drumming was so fast, and we'd go hang out at his house. And it's funny because like we talk about history, because my memory is not perfect either. But even I'm sure Max will tell you, Max was on here. And he sort of gave how he got in the band. Mm-hmm. And even what he said was a little wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he even, because I remember what happened and he was even a little off.
Okay, so what happened?
So I was friends with Max and would surf with Max and hang out with Max. And he was a younger kid, but cool kid. We would surf together. And I knew the No Motive dudes. And the No Motive guy's like, oh yeah, we need another guitarist. And I was like, I know this kid Max. And so I told Max, and I remember being at Pat's house and Pat's dad dropping Max off, and I can see it like it was yesterday, Max walking up to Pat's house with the guitar. And then coming in like, hey, this is Max. Max like, hey guys. And they'd seen each other around, and then that's how he joined the band.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're great musicians, but even back then, like Max, Dave, etc., they had to sit on the bed and play guitar. They couldn't stand up.
Word, why?
Because just, I guess, moving around.
It's just easier to play sitting down?
Yeah, just easier to play sitting down.
Yeah,
so.
That's wild. Well, Dave Brandon had to play the lead.
Yeah,
I remember.
I remember. Dave, it's funny, Dave... Man, I love Dave. He doesn't get a lot of credit in that band for people who weren't around back then, but Dave was the coolest, nicest guy. And I mean, that guy would shred. And his uncle played drums for Michael Jackson. So I think he was just raised around music and a quirky guy and just, yeah, he was the coolest guy.
Yeah.
You know, he was the guy always embarrassing the band, like falling off the stage, like forgetting his bass. The one famous story, No Motive went and played Bakersfield with this band Active Ingredients, and it was like a punk house, and they had this huge half pipe in their backyard. So we go there, all eyes on us. We're just standing around, and they're like, you want to skate? And we're like, we'll just watch, we'll just hang out a little. And Dave's like, I'll do it. And he starts riding the skateboard on the half pipe, flies off, and just takes out like 5 people. And, it's just like, that's Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, and that 7-inch, like, how many are you pressing?
300.
And then you sold the first press right away, right? Is it 300 on the white paper?
Yeah.
Because the one you always see is the green one now. I have both. But.
Okay, yeah, it was the white paper.
And you did 300 of those.
I did 300. They're hand numbered. And I remember, like, going to John Lyons. You talked about John Lyons a lot at the living room. And I knew John forever. And people don't know this. John, before all that, we used to roadie for NOFX.
So let's talk about John Lyons because he's a good one to nail down, right? So is he a Santa Barbara dude?
Carpinteria.
Okay.
He lived right off the freeway in Carpinteria. So when I'd go to shows in Santa Barbara, sometimes I'd get off the freeway in Carpinteria. He lived in an apartment complex, and I'd go to his house, and he'd give me zines, records, whatever. We were just friends.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was right off the freeway, and I'd go there and just pick stuff up and hang out with John.
Is he your age?
I believe he's my age.
Okay. Yeah. And so Carpinteria, and then he roadied for NOFX. What year do you think? Too bad that didn't make the book.
Yeah.
Did you read that book?
Yeah. I read the book. It's cool. I think probably right after their first album that they self-released, probably right when they moved. I mean, I'm not a huge like NOFX, like,
yeah,
you know, I can't tell you everything about the band, like timeline, but probably right when they moved to Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Like he started hanging out with them and then would roadie for them.
Yeah. That's cool. He's such an important person.
He's an important
because he recorded
person.
all that stuff.
Yeah, he's an important person, and people never met him, etc. You know, he lived at the Living Room, which was a club.
Mm-hmm.
He lived there, and he was just a low key guy. He didn't really talk. He didn't really say much. You know,
I would say you would never know how he actually felt about you.
Yes.
Like I never knew if I was bothering him or not.
Right.
But he didn't make me feel so bad that I wouldn't ask again.
No, he didn't. I mean, and I'm sure I haven't talked to John forever, but I mean, I'm sure he would say that he didn't have like a lot of personality.
Yeah.
He was just sort of a plain Joe, and that's just how he was.
Yeah.
And he was a smart guy and would record bands and just one take and just be like, yeah, that's good.
No, he would say, "Do you like that?"
Oh yeah,
he wouldn't tell you. He would never tell you if it was good or not. That's like the knock. Is like you had to be playing this and you're so young and so nervous, and then he'd be like, "How do you like that one?" It's like I have no idea like what my performance was, and then like you're recording in this room that's kind of like away from him, and if you want to listen to it, you got to go into the room, so you're just really slowing down the recording,
right?
And so you had to be on point when you went.
I think it was $10 an hour.
The first time I would have recorded there, it was $10 an hour, so that would have been $95. And by the last time I recorded there, it was $20 an hour.
Okay.
So over the span of 4 years or whatever,
he raised his price.
He needed to. I mean, like, it was a good, solid recording. You never walked out of there feeling you got boned.
No, and I mean, people don't understand. Like recording back then was so much more difficult. You know what I mean? Nothing digital. You just had to do it. And I remember, he would cut the reels and literally tape them together.
Yeah.
And I think he's the one who got me in touch with Lynn Horowitz and just, he had a wealth of knowledge before the internet. He had a wealth of knowledge and just, tell you where to pressure records. I remember he even told me, I think, where to buy like sleeves, like just random stuff.
Before bagsunlimited.com.
Before bagsunlimited.com.
Then you do the Dick Circus. You did the Missing 23rd demo or no?
Yes. Well, I did release it. I think, you'd have to ask those guys, but I have an original copy and it says it has a big fat It's Alive Records logo on it.
Huh.
I can send you a picture of it. And it's funny because I had one and then I gave it away. I don't know what happened to it. And then actually Igby from Revelation, I had to buy it off him.
Okay.
He had it, but that's it. That's I don't know if it's on Discogs.
Yeah, it's listed. I don't know if they have a picture of it or anything, but it's listed as It's Alive.
It's Alive, and I know it got passed out a little, etc. So and I don't know if I guess that was their first recording. I mean, the Missing 23rd, I get the timeline also. I get very mixed up.
But why would you have done a demo with them and not a record? Was it just that they needed something out quick?
Honestly, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think, they were playing shows, starting to play shows, and they needed something out, and, like, hey, let's do this, and that was it.
Yeah. You do the Dick Circus record. And
right. They record at the Living Room.
Yeah.
And Barney, who he filled in on guitar, he worked at Record Outlet, and he went down there, and yeah, I went down with them. They recorded, and they were squared away people, so it was easy.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, they're an interesting band.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh. You just putting out stuff you liked.
Yeah, just stuff I liked, and it's easy to work with local people, and also to back up the No Motive 7-inch. I remember when the test pressings were ready, I drove Pat down to Bill Smith Custom Records in El Segundo, California, which people don't know that area is really close to LAX airport.
Mm-hmm.
So we went down there. I remember Bill Smith put on the test pressing, and he was playing it, and Pat looked at me and he said, "Is that my band? Is this No Motive? Like, I can't believe how fast it is." Because you never really had heard
Mm-hmm.
an official recording, and both of them were just mind boggled. Like, wow, this is No Motive.
Yeah.
I had no idea how fast.
Yeah, well, when it comes in, it's so fast, and the only other thing that could be compared to it in playing like that real straight beat would be like Lagwagon. They played that fast, but Lagwagon had nice recordings, and that first No Motive 7-inch is very raw.
Right.
And it's a good recording, but it's a living room recording, and you just have the rim shots are just punching through. And so it's like you've never heard something that fast and like that abrasive.
Right.
Of like doing a real beat, not like the thrash cheating beats and stuff, or blast beats.
And you want to talk about you want to talk about old stories. So I believe you're in a band with Kevin Herstein.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin lived across the street from me, literally 30 seconds walking.
Yeah, you could have hit his house with a garden hose.
Right, from my house. And he had older sisters I grew up with. So I remember going over there, and this kid Kevin, he was a little kid, but I'd known him his whole life. And he's playing drums, and this kid Todd Jones was over there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were jamming. I was like, "Hey, what's up, kids?" and talking to him. And I was telling Todd and Kevin about hardcore and punk and these bands. And they're like, "Really? Really? Wow." Like, they were baffled. And I gave Todd Jones a cassette. And I can't even remember who was on it. But he took it home, and man, that's almost like the start of Todd Jones.
Yeah, that was after me.
Okay.
Because I brought in Todd because me and Kevin played 2 or 3 shows as a 2-piece.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, man, I don't even know if we need a bass player because I had like a flying V.
Okay.
And I had like this death metal pedal.
All right.
And I was just like, we're fucking heavy. I don't know if we need a bass player. But then Todd was doing that band Initial Distrust.
Okay.
And I think got burnt on it or something and left them and then joined us.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then when like Kevin and I didn't get along so well after a while, and then so we just the band broke up, and then Todd did Last Chance with Scoops.
Okay.
With Kevin, Scoops, and I think Phil played bass.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw him play across the street from Oxnard High at the Armory.
Yes. Yeah, and that I would have been in Against the Odds that time, and I played that show as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember Kevin Herstein. He, just like wanted to be this little punker kid, and they had real bouncers there, like these Samoan guys, and Kevin like slammed into him, and they like punched him out.
That was a wild place for shows.
Yes.
I remember they did 2 there because Burning Dog played both times, but one time they didn't have John and one time they didn't have Joe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like some little things like that. And FAY played one time, and that would have been the only time I saw them.
Okay.
And they were like really good with the second singer.
The second singer, yeah, they're a great band. Great band.
Yeah, underrated because they never had anything come out.
No, I no.
Why? Because they were like the one that didn't get on Localism.
Yeah, you know what? I wanted them on there. I'm pretty sure, but they just they're just people with lives.
Yeah,
like
if you can't pull it together.
Yeah, if you couldn't pull it together, you couldn't pull it together.
Yeah,
I mean, this is before cell phones.
Yeah,
and email and all that. So it just didn't happen.
Yeah, in '96 you start curating a LP comp called Localism.
Correct.
And how did you go about it?
Well,
and why then?
I don't even know if I can answer that, but I just, I was gaining steam. I wanted to do things. And, obviously I always like compilations of, like Flex Your Head, like New York hardcore, the way it is, like, putting out local stuff. And I was like, well, there hasn't been anything else since Nardcore.
Yeah, over 10 years.
Yeah, over 10 years. Like, I want to document this. And, yeah, I mean, that was really it. So just ask local bands and anyone who knows. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this, but like doing any big project is such a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people don't understand, because a lot of people putting out books now, like, re-releasing old stuff. And when you talk to these people, they're like, dude, the biggest headache is just getting people on board. Like, people want to do things, but to actually get people to submit and do things. And, people just have lives, and some people are flaky and just,
Yeah, I know. Like the one comp I did, I thought I came up with the ultimate cheat to cut out all the bullshit because it was a live 7-inch. And so it's like, I have all the recordings tonight. Right. And I'm going to have someone else do the artwork and all this. And it still gets held up because I'm waiting for people to send me their lyrics.
Right.
Or like, hey, what's the name of that song? And it still gets held up. It's like, fuck.
Yeah,
I thought I had all my bases covered. I can't imagine doing an LP.
No, it was, and everyone knows every band that
Trying to get a water out over here.
All
Jesus Christ.
Earthquake. Yeah, everyone knows a band, it's 4 or 5, 3 to 5 different personalities.
Yeah.
So someone wants to do this, someone wants to do that. And a funny story about the Localism comp. So I had it pressed at Bill Smith. So I had the plates, the stampers, I believe, mailed directly to the pressing plant. And I called down there, like a couple weeks before, and I'm like, hey, I can drive down there in 2 weeks, like on a Monday. Yeah, it'll be done. And I remember I showed up like super early, like literally 7 a.m, and pulled up. And people can understand it's like 2 hours from my house.
Yeah.
So I left crazy early, got there, and pulled up, and they're just looking at me like, oh shit, like it's not done. And I'm like, dude, I need this record done.
Yeah.
And I drove 2 hours, and I'm like, I'm just gonna camp out here.
Yeah.
And they're like, sure. And they had a couch there, and I remember I had a book and just read a book, and I'd walk. It was it was an industrial area, but I walked around, and there was a restaurant in the corner. I ate, and I literally hung around till like 9 at night, till 9 p.m. And the record, they just did the records.
That's rad. They pressed it that they did it that day.
Yeah, they did it that day, and I took them home.
That's sick.
Yeah,
that area is weird because like it's super industrial, but I always felt like it was like really clean.
Oh, it was clean. El Segundo is like a middle upper class.
Yeah,
it's expensive to live there, so it sort of keeps the riffraff out.
Yeah, it's like the nicest industrial area you've ever been in.
Yeah,
like
in LA County.
Yeah,
yeah, it probably is. It probably is.
So that comp comes out, and did you press more than 300 of it though, right?
Yeah, I think I did. I think I did 700, and it's funny because I remember when they were pressed. Bill Smith's like, 700 records, you can sell these, whatever, $6 a pop, you can get rich, but people don't understand, man. Like, it's punk, and just, how many of those I gave away, and just, you know what I mean? And,
with anything, you never get the big nut back, right? Like, if you spend $2,000 on doing something, and you get paid back $150 every night for it, it's just like, even if you're going to make $3,000, it doesn't feel like you're really making money.
No.
You never get that nut.
No. And anyone will tell you, like, I've never made money. You know what I mean? And people know my releases. I always have a lot of inserts, a lot of cool stuff, and that stuff costs money.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it just, some people buy rims for their cars,
mm-hmm.
And I like doing music stuff. So, the money goes.
Yeah. And then after that, you do the no motive choice. So that's actually, those are some good questions for you. Where was the choice from? We don't know.
Yeah, the choice was from South Bay.
Okay.
Redondo Beach.
Okay.
And they were actually a little older than me. They were a few years older, old scenester guys, and the guitarist Mike, he moved down here to work at American Music, which people don't know. It was a music store in Oxnard, California, and just, I mean, a cast of characters worked there.
Yeah.
You know, like cock rock guys, punker guys. I mean, you'd go in there and it was just like a different world. So yeah, Mike worked there, and he became friends with the No Motive dudes because they'd shop there, and then I'd go in there and we'd just hang out. And honestly, I don't even remember, but No Motive recorded 2 new songs.
Yeah.
Not enough for a 7-inch, but let's do a split. And then the Choice guys, I'd seen them around, and I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. That was just such a random band.
It was, yeah,
and then, they were South Bay.
South Bay.
Yeah.
Redondo, Manhattan Beach area.
I bought a different LP from them at some point.
Yeah,
I don't know how much they did.
I think they had an LP out.
Yeah, it was called Sunday or Saturday Soccer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's you know, my timeline's bad too, but I put on that show Ill Repute, The Choice, No Motive, and Goddamn Rock Stars.
Okay.
At the Living Room. And I don't think that was a record release, but that's when, you know, things were in stride. And remember, that's Josh Ortega's band.
Which
Goddamn Rock Stars.
Yeah, him and Phil.
Him and Phil. You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think Phil was in that band.
No?
No, I don't think so. He could have been, but you'd have to ask him, but I don't think so. But the funny story about that is, you know, I put them on that show. He was our friend, nicest guy ever, great guy. And, you know, they were really nervous playing this semi-big show. It was at the Living Room in Goleta. And they opened up, and in the middle of their first or second song, they stopped playing. Because they messed up the song. And they just stopped playing the whole place like, you know, fingernails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
And everyone was staring at him.
You gotta play through it, dude. Gotta play through it.
The Nardcore hit him.
Oh, that's so bad. Yeah, well, Josh replaced me in Voice of Defiance when I quit.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because then when...
Wasn't that your band?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was Phil and Scoops and me.
Okay.
So I don't take any claim over them.
Okay.
But you had some involvement in those Euro 7-inches, right? You had to, because that was when the Stand Your Ground demo came out, and then the second Voice of Defiance with Break Even Point.
Break Even Point from like Italy.
Yeah, and they did like 100 copies.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I never understood how, like, you'd call these pressing plants here, and I know when I did the half off, it was minimum 200.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, can I do 100? Like, no, absolutely not. And then these Europeans would put out, like, a press of 50. I mean, I don't know. But they did 100 copies, and you know what? The only way I got involved with that, I remember that guy, like, writing me letters, etc., and just like I would provide like the photos for the 7-inch, and then he'd probably ask me how to spell the band member names, and just random basic stuff that before the internet there was no way to know. And then I don't even know how It's Alive logo ended up on those.
Did they?
Yes.
On there? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I just wish there was more copies of that second Voice of Defiance 7-inch. I like it.
Yeah,
even though like they put Josh Ortega as the bass player on it when we recorded it 8 months before I left the band, and I wrote half the shit.
Yeah, you know how it is.
I know. It's just a good record.
And then Max was playing bass on the Stand Your Ground 7-inch cover.
But he did play bass on the demo. Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah, it's a good picture.
Yeah, I took that picture.
Yeah.
It was at I believe it was at the Living Room.
I have no idea.
No, it was at the Pickle Patch.
Pickle Patch.
Yeah, Pickle Patch.
That's sick. Then you do the Rain on Parade 7-inch.
Rain on the Parade. I was just buddies with those guys, like trading records, etc. And I don't know, they just wanted to get some exposure on the West Coast. So
why do they never come here? That's kind of stupid, right?
I think just jobs and life. I think I could be wrong, but I think I'm almost positive now they booked a little tour here because I made some flyers.
Okay.
There's actually, I have flyers. It's Visual Discrimination, Rain on the Parade, and No Motive at the Living Room. And I made the flyer, and whatever reason, I mean, just life stuff, I think. They just couldn't make it out. So that's why I think they were going to play shows out here, so they wanted to have some records. So they sent me the metal stampers. Mm-hmm. I remember it was in this huge box. Like, I think, when I picked it up from my P.O. box, like the lady thought it was like a bomb or something. And I got it, and same thing. I just drove it down to Bill Smith and pressed 300, and I spray painted the covers in my parents' backyard.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was cool, man.
It's cool. Okay. I love that record.
Yeah, I love that record too, and people loved it, but no, they never made it out.
I know. What a bummer.
Yeah, it was a bummer.
Visual Discrimination on that second run was sick.
Yeah, they were sick. They were
that 7-inch they came back with?
Serial Killer or something. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, they were pissed.
Dude.
They were pissed.
Yes. That was fucking
like
so
midlife
good.
crisis.
Yeah.
Almost like a midlife crisis. Yeah, they were pissed. You know what? Those guys, I mean, people don't know Visual Discrimination. Like, those guys were crazy motherfuckers. I mean, those dudes, I mean, every show they were beating someone up and just like no one messed with those guys. And they were on every single bill. Yeah. I mean, literally every single show in LA they would play. They were just like the house band. I remember like going to Taco Bell with Tim VD and some guy cut him off in the drive-through, like someplace in Orange County, and he's like beating the guy up in his car, and it was just everywhere we like you'd go with those guys were just madmen.
Isn't there a story with them in Chain of Strength?
Yeah, but honestly, I mean, I would tell you, but I don't know. Like, I don't really know exactly.
Yeah,
I couldn't even tell you what happened.
Okay, fair enough. Then you do the Good Riddance Ill Repute.
Yeah, the Good Riddance Ill Repute. I mean, obviously I was friends with Ill Repute, and I'd hang out with them, and then Good Riddance. It's funny. Good Riddance played in Ventura, in Montalvo, right behind Toys R Us. That's no longer there, but
Deja Vu.
Yeah, Deja Vu. They played there, and I can't remember who they played with, but I went and saw them, and I was friends with Blast from Santa Cruz, so I'd been to Santa Cruz, probably seen the Good Riddance guys around. So they played there and talked to them, etc. And I don't know if you remember, but Ray Me of Crevice, that was the first time I ever saw him. And he got beat up by skinheads just for having long hair. Like, I just see these.
That's not funny, but it's funny.
I know. I just see these.
I wasn't ready for you to drop that on me.
And I remember yesterday, I remember going to the show, walking in, and 5 minutes later, these skinheads walking in looking for trouble. And then Ray just standing there and them just walking over, pummeling him. I'm like, poor guy. And then, the Why Me became infamous.
Can you tell the Why Me story?
Oh, yeah.
Tell it. I
want to tell the Why Me story. So the first time I saw Why Me, he gets beat up by skinheads, okay?
But we should tell what you, like, he's like a portly... long-haired guy that looks like he's survived every Slayer pit, right?
Yes.
I've survived every scary heavy metal pit there is to survive.
Yeah. So just imagine this guy with super long, like you said, long ass hair. I mean, just looks like he survived every Slayer pit to hell and back.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Hey guys. Always had some random metal shirt on.
Yeah, and played in a band called Crevice.
Played in a band Crevice. So yeah, Why Me starts. First time I ever see him, he gets beat up by skinheads. Okay. Second time I ever see him, he's at the Ojai Women's Club in Ojai, and this huge spider the size of my fist drops out of a tree onto his head. This is a true story. And you gotta understand, this guy had hair down to his ass. So the spider's in his hair, and he's running around punching the air, trying to get the spider out of his hair. Okay? And then I'd see this guy around, and he worked at Pizza Hut in Ventura. So our Round Table. He worked at Round Table and Pizza in East End, so he invited me and some buddies. Hey, I'll come give you free pizza. Hey, free pizza. Let's do it. So we go there. He has this truck, and he's a delivery guy. He has this truck, has 666 spray painted on the side with Hail Satan on the back of it, spray painted. So we go in, and he's doodling, and he has this Round Table uniform on. He's doodling in this little art book, with devils, people's heads cut off. He's like, hey guys, I don't know if I can give you free pizza today. It's really a bummer. They're only giving me like 4 hours a week, and they never send me on deliveries. And I'm thinking, man, like that, there's probably a reason. But we hung out a little, and then I have a why me story a lot of people don't know. I put on a show at the living room. I can't remember who was playing, and he asked to play that show.
With Crevice?
Yes, with Crevice. And I go, yeah, absolutely. I'll put you on the show. But here's the deal. I remember I told him at Kinko's, I go, here's the deal. You have to be on time.
Yeah.
Like the living room, it's squared away, it's set times, and John, it's a real show.
Yeah.
Like you have to be on time. So I see him a few weeks before the show, and I'm like, you're still playing. We'll be there. And I made the flyer, and I get there before the show, and I'm waiting around. Long story, they never show up.
Jesus.
Okay, they never show up. So I see why me a few days later in Ventura, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? He sort of put me on the spot.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, our guitarist got a DUI and the van got towed. So I'm like, fuck. Like, yeah, I'm feeling bad. And I'm like, on the way to the show, and he's like, no, like 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, dude.
You can call me?
Dude, 3 weeks ago, like, I thought I saw you. And he's like, yeah, I forgot to tell you. Like, and then he got the why me story because Creep Division was playing at Skate Street upstairs. And, it was this tiny room and people were dancing around. And like a movie, this is a true story, like a movie, you just heard like a tree break. I mean, literally just like you thought the building was coming down and Why Me was laying in the middle of the dance floor with his leg backwards. And so the band stopped and we're all like, are you okay? You need to go to the hospital. And he just starts saying, why me? Why me? And true story, they had to carry him downstairs. He's a big guy. They put him in back of a pickup truck. This is true. I'm leaning out a 2-story window and they're driving off and he's going, why me? And that's the why me story.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a genuine question.
Yeah.
Because he survived so many pits and then he goes down in like a tiny little fun Creep Division pit,
That's always how it is.
Oh, man. That's so funny.
So yeah, I released that. I released the Good Riddance and Repeat 7-inch, and it was a big deal to me. And another funny story of that, I remember Good Riddance played at it was called the Underground in Santa Barbara. It had 100 different names.
Yeah,
and they were playing. I remember, the merch table just sitting there, and some girl walked up and just grabbed like 5 of them and ran out the door. Yes, and me and the Good Riddance guys are looking at her. Should we chase her? We're like, nah.
that place was wild because, it was the Underground, then it was Emerald City.
Right.
And you had like the 3 steps that like literally you walk from the bar into the pit. And it was just like, that place, I don't know. Obviously, places are way, way more violent. But that was a place like, there was always a fight.
There was, and I mean, I'm sure you know this one, I'll tell you, but it was like almost walking distance from like, downtown.
Yeah.
So
it's very close.
People know downtown Santa Barbara, it's just party central.
Yeah.
Like you would see on MTV.
Yeah.
So I think random people would just sort of, gravitate and just end up there.
Dude, one time Guttermouth played and like there was a big old brawl and the show gets shut down and we go out and a guy was getting elbow smashed like Randy Savage like on top of my car. Like, the guy was, like, doing the drop WWF elbows, like, on top of my car. And I was like, first off, how do you even get up there? I know. Why are you doing this?
When me and Dave Mandel rode down there with the guys from Blast. They had a band, right over Blast Pro. They had this band Blackout, and they played with RKL. And we rode down there with those guys and hanging out. And RKL was playing, and true story, the bouncers got on stage and started fighting the band. And the band was still playing and fighting the bouncers. And Jason would sing, and between lyrics would be punching out the bouncers with the microphone. And then literally the song would stop and the guitarist would be like swinging at the bouncer and they'd go into the next song.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one time Ill Repute played there around that era, and it was not a necessarily memorable show. There's probably like 80 people or something.
Right.
And it was like this fight broke out over here, and then it would like be dying out, and then this one broke out over here. And we were like, I think you had to have been there.
I was there.
It was like this era, and we were like standing on stage just watching these different fights for like 20 minutes. It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and like I said, it wasn't in a bad area.
No.
I don't know.
It's just I think it was literally because if you were 21 and older, you could drink, and you take 3 steps from the bar down into the pit. So it's like, it's just like you get drunk, you walk down, someone blasts you, and then you fight him.
Yeah.
You know?
You're probably right.
Yeah. So that's pretty rad. You could do an Ill Repute record.
Yeah, man. That was a big deal to me. You know? My hometown heroes putting out a record by him, and it was cool.
And then back to back, you get to do Lab right after that.
Yeah, I do the Lab. Excuse me. I was friends with the Blast guys forever, and they started Blackout, and they turned into Lab, and just put out that 7-inch 2-songer, and I love that thing. That thing's awesome. That was fun putting out. It sounded different, sort of stoner rock before stoner rock.
It's a cool 7-inch. I like it more than the Blackout 7-inch.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Yeah, it still holds up. I'd like to re-release it someday. It's a great record.
Yeah, or at least put the files online or something for people.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's so good, and then like, good luck tracking it down.
Yeah.
At least the songs, right?
Right.
If you're not gonna rip it. Do the Ill Repute re-release, like the CD?
Yeah, do the CD. That was a huge clusterfuck.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Dave Mandel put it out. Split. It's Alive. Indecision Records, and Doug Moody had not been heard of forever, and it came out. And you'd have to ask Dave more about it, like on his end. But Doug Moody called Dave and said, you can't put this out, etc. I'm going to sue you. Typical Doug Moody stuff.
Yeah.
So Dave said, you know what? We're going to have to shelf this. And then Sean Stern called me and said, hey, I had heard that Doug Moody's threatened you guys. And so he called Dave Mandel and said, hey, man, like, fuck that guy. Like, he's not going to do shit, like, etc. But it was never officially released.
Yeah.
It's out there, and it's cool. It has an insert and everything. But, then Doug, it's funny because that's what gave Doug sort of the idea, because Doug just took that and then started re-releasing stuff.
Yeah, and that stuff is not well done.
No, it's horrible. It's like the best of Ill Repute, but it's really like at the end, the rest of Ill Repute.
Yeah.
It's the rest, not the best.
Yeah.
Like we put out, it was the LP and the 7-inch, like the classic stuff.
Yeah, and the Nardcore comp songs.
You're right.
And then the one extra song, the one from
Slimy Valley.
Either Slimy Valley or Let's Die.
Let's Die, you're right. It's from Let's Die. And it was great. It's too bad that never hit the public, really.
Yeah.
It had pictures and lyrics and everything. But yeah, that got so if you have that, hang on to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a CD. It would have gotten chucked by now.
Yeah.
I can't hang on. I collect records already, and I have
room for CDs?
too much junk. Yeah.
I got you.
I have a very small tape collection, too.
That's good. That's good.
Then you do your own band. Which is pretty rad,
yeah,
right?
Annihilation Time.
Yeah, so what makes you decide to want to jump in there? Because now you book shows, you've done a fanzine, you put out records, and now you want to, like, participate, like, be a part of a band.
Those guys from Ventura that I used to hang out with, they actually, like, they had a little band, just, they never played outside their house, but they would just do cover songs of, like, mostly Stalag.
Okay.
Like literally play the entire Stalag 13 album, and I would sing.
Okay.
And they had a singer, but he would come over, and he was more interested in like drinking beer, talking to girls. I was like, "Fuck it, let me sing."
And when is this?
This is like 85.
Oh.
This is like 85.
Okay.
And 85, 86. So I'd sing, but we never got out of of my friend's living room. So I would sing, and then I think it was the same guys. We did a talent show at Santa Clara Elementary, and we covered a Stalag song.
Sick.
And we won.
Yeah.
And we won. And I remember I made flyers for like the show and handed them out. The average person, like, a flyer for a talent show.
Yeah. And
we won that. I don't have that flyer anymore. I wish I had it. And then you talked about this band with Stu, Arch Enemy.
Okay.
I was friends with the drummer of Arch Enemy, Mike Starr, and he would come over to my house, and he was a very good drummer, and he would jam on the drums, and I would sing, and it was just a drummer and vocals.
Yeah. And
we would jam out, and we never really did anything. And then I went on tour with Fields of Fire.
Yeah.
And In Control.
Yeah.
Your band, and the guy, Graham, was around, and he's like, "Hey, let's start a band."
And you sang a song, like, maybe not every night, but a handful of times on that tour you would sing.
I would. It's funny because I vaguely remember that, but yeah, I would get on stage and
Straight on View.
Straight on View. That's right. Yeah, Straight on View, and get on stage and sing, and yeah, I mean. I'm not a good singer. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it was fun, man. I was just having fun. I couldn't really play an instrument, so that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you saved Fields of Fire that one night in North Carolina after Ryan body slammed a bench.
Okay. So I sang, and there you go. See, that's good you remember that stuff because it's vague.
Yeah. You don't remember that?
Not vaguely.
Dude, Benj was doing, like, the normal speech like the singer does, like, "Hey, thanks for coming out. Like, help us out and buy some merch." And Ryan, for whatever reason, is like, "Hey, fuck you," And Benj is like, "Well, I would tell you to buy some In Control merch, but they're a bunch of dicks." And so Ryan goes up and just fucking picks him up like he's fucking Dino Bravo or some shit. Just fucking body slams him WWF style. And, like, I mean, it looked like it hurt because he didn't get an arm down or nothing. Yeah. He wasn't ready for it, and he just. And I mean, the wind was knocked out of him. He was like, "Thank you, good night. We're Fields of Fire," and like dropped the mic and like ran off. And if you remember, that place was like on the 3rd story. Okay. So like he could run down like three stories of stairs to like get away, And then like everyone was just like, "What do we do?" And they're like, "Fred, let's sing Straight on View." That
was it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because they headlined every night.
All right. So. And then well, I know you mentioned you wanted to tell me a story. I sang with Stalag 13 at the Showcase Theater.
That's right. So let's set up this story because this is one of my best friends in San Diego, Don. He was at the show when Blake was yelling Bailey over and over. And this is a stupid story I've had to hear about for like over 20 years now. Is anytime like I say how much I love Stalag, they have to give me shit about the one night that like Blake is yelling Bailey.
Right. So I was there. So what happened? Stalag got back together, and it was Blake Cruz, original guitarist, and then Joey Lipke, who was one of the original drummers. And then they had a random bass player, an older guy I didn't know, and a random singer who was a younger guy. And they got a show with Ignite, and in Corona. I might even got on that show. I can't remember, but they're like, "Hey, let's go." We all hopped in the van. And, I mean, Blake will tell you Blake has been sober forever. But back then he wasn't sober. Man, he was a wild man. So even before we get out of Oxnard, I mean, people are roughhousing in the van. And Joey, he sort of was a serious guy. Like, "Hey, I'm driving. We got to do this by the book, etc." And I mean,
because he's a little more honest. He's the guy that did Edge Records.
Right. So, it's sort of all on him.
Yeah.
So I remember, like, we stop at the gas station, gas up. No one has money. So I buy everyone food and, like, food's rolling around. People are arguing in the van. People are partying. And then we stopped in the valley at, I don't even know the name, but it's just where you practice.
It's just some lockouts.
Yeah, a lockout. So we go there and they're playing and partying, etc. And Blake and the bass player get in a fist fight. They start fighting in the lockout, and we're pulling them apart. And I'm like, man, and people don't know Oxnard to Corona is a shitty drive.
Yes.
I mean,
2 hours and boring.
2 hours and just smog, traffic. So I'm stuck in this van. People are fighting and arguing. Then we get to the show, and Blake has just had his daughter Bailey and had written a song about it. And he gets on stage, and like your friend said, every other word is Bailey. Bailey, I love Bailey, Bailey, Bailey. And man, it was a little rough. It was a little, it was rough, but you know, people were there. They were happy.
Yeah.
And the singer, you know, he was younger. So people were like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And then I don't even know what happened, but the band said, hey, Fred, sing some songs. So I got up on stage and I sang some of the set, and it was cool, man.
Yeah.
It was just, but it was just, it wasn't funny when it wasn't funny when it's happening then.
Yeah.
It was, but now it's funny.
So did the singer just like get the hook? Like they're like, get this kid out of here or what?
I don't, you know, honestly, I think what happened, I was on stage and I knew like Ignite dudes were there and like some other people I know, and they're like, hey, have
give Fred one.
Give Fred one. Give Fred one.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, get up here. And then I sang and then just kept singing.
Yeah. It's like my mic, kid.
Yeah, and that was it. And then, yeah, to go back, so, you know, me and Graham and Jamie and Chris Grande started Annihilation Time on that In Control Fields of Fire. Yeah. And then we got back, and how we were talking about Emerald City Underground, that club, we practiced, I mean, like next door.
Okay.
Like 1 minute walking. And, you know, we drove up there and just started practicing. That's how Annihilation Time started.
Yeah. And you do it pretty quick.
Yeah, we do.
Record with Nick Jett.
Yeah, we record with Nick Jett. I mean, you know, by that time, you know, you sort of know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, I know how to put out a record. We know someone who does a studio. So we've become friends with Nick Jett, and he lived in the Valley. And, you know, we'd go down there and record. And this before digital. We were recording on tape. And, you know, I never really been in studio recording. Like, I'd done backups and stuff and hung around. But, yeah, it was rough. But, you know, the guys, Nick really helped me out. And Tony Molino helped me out. And, you know, we got it done. You
had a really good crew to be in there with.
Right.
Like, that's a lot of pressure singing.
Right.
The first time.
Right.
It's very hard.
Yeah, it was. But, you know what?
But everyone had been in there before. I don't know if Jamie. Well, Jamie had been in with Fields of Fire.
Yeah, he'd been around studio. But it was really, it was, I remember Tony helping me out, Nick and Graham.
Yeah.
Like, they're the ones who really, like, helped me out.
Yeah.
So I remember I even drove down there with Tony, just me and Tony, and, you know, he helped me out. And yeah, it was cool. It was fun. I mean, I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but it's punk. It's hardcore.
Yeah. Are you a guy that listened to it a million times or could never listen to it? Because some people I have to listen to my shit.
Right.
If I get a new recording, I'm listening to it 100 times in a row. And then some people are just like, I can't hear my own voice.
I listen to it. Yeah. I was one of those people. I listened to it.
Yeah.
I probably listened to it 100 times. And the thing is, it turned out 100. I'm just talking about my vocals. It turned out 100 times better than I thought.
Yeah.
You know, like I was like, man, this is gonna be rough. Like,
yeah.
You know, I might have to like throw all these records away or whatever. But no, it was. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think
no complaints.
No, it's a cool record.
Thanks.
And then, what do you know what happened with the following? Like, did you get booted?
Yeah. I got kicked out of the band. I mean, just typical band stuff. You know, like, you know, we just had different interests. I mean, everything from music to life.
Tour? You did a tour though, right? So you did Fields of Fire in Control in 01, and then in 02 did Fields of Fire and Annihilation Time.
Yeah, so we did a US tour, and yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool, you know. I had a lot of contacts, and I think Bedge set up the tour, and you know, we went, and you know, like I said, I wasn't a great singer. I didn't know what I was doing, but whatever, fuck it. I just went out there.
You had fun.
Yeah, I had fun, man, and you know, jump on people, throw shit, and whatever. Dude, I had the time of my life.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And then we got back. You know, I just think they wanted to go a different direction. And, I was a little older and just, just whatever. It just didn't work out. But I always remember I was at Revelation Records and somewhere Revelation's like, hey, are you playing like in Santa Barbara tonight? I'm like, no. They're like, yeah, they're playing. I'm like, well, I guess I'm kicked out of the band.
That's how you found out?
Yeah, that's how I found out.
Oh, that's sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. It is what it is. So,
yeah. No, but it's still cool that you got to like do a record and a 12-inch.
Yeah, and you know what? And I was finishing college, and really, that's just, it's just is what I wanted to graduate college.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
So it all,
Yeah. And then right after you do Blasting Concept, which is kind of like an Annihilation Time brother band, no?
Yeah, I did a.
It's a little later. I mean, actually, we shouldn't say right after. It was like 8 years later.
Yeah, a little later, but yeah, they're just local Santa Barbara dudes. I was cool with them, and
get to do a Capra record.
Yeah, to get to do a Jeff Capra record, and yeah, that was a fun. That's funny because that's one of those records I put out, and I mean, I love that record, and people liked them, but it's just, man, I love that band.
Yeah,
I
love it too.
There's some bands you're friends with, you like, and you're like, they're all right, but. I mean, that band could really rock out, but, it's just...
Well, I was glad they did the LP, because I think they're more of an LP band.
Right.
Just because it's a rocker. You want to put it on and, like, let it long play.
Right.
Right? So, but you did both.
Yeah, that was...
You did a 7-inch and the LP.
Yeah, I did a 7-inch and LP, and then I re-released all the stuff on CD.
Yeah.
I put it on CD. If anyone wants a CD, you can have it. I have boxes of them. You can have it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, how do they email you?
Just email me, iloveoxnard@hotmail.com. iloveoxnard@hotmail.com, and you get some free CDs. And also, then I put out the half-off CD.
Yeah.
Discography, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I've never even seen that.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
I got one for you in my car.
Oh, dude, I want one.
It's the original singer, a half-off. They did it's one of those when bands would do like a 17-song demo.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I released it on CD, and it has a huge booklet and some stories and stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool, yeah.
Dude, I actually really want that.
Yeah.
I love what you did with the Unity 7-inch.
Okay.
It's so cool.
Thank you.
Right? Just pull off the rippers.
Yep.
And put out a 7-inch. How did that come about? Did you work with Joe?
You know what? I always loved that Unity Blood Days record.
Yeah.
And I love the songs that weren't the original Unity songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want to put this out. So I was friends with Jody Foster, and I asked him, and he's like, yeah, just get in touch with Longry, Pat Longry. And I got in touch, and he's like, yeah, man, go for it. Let's do it. And, I just put it out. And I remember, because I only pressed 300.
Yeah.
I remember Jeff, a Smorgasbord record up front. Like, he had a vegan restaurant by where Zed Records used to be, that area.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, man, you're going to lose a lot of money. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's all I can afford right now. Like 300, I'm like, I probably will, but I just want to put this record out.
Yeah.
And I did.
But those all went.
Yeah, they all went.
Yeah, because...
Yeah, it was cool. I love those songs.
Yeah, I got one. I bought it at... I'm trying to think. I think I got it at TKO.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I do all my Southern California shopping all over.
I like it.
Yeah. So, and the last thing you've done is the re-release of the Nardcore comp.
Yeah, the Nardcore comp, it's pretty basic. That's one of my top 5 favorite albums of all time.
Sure.
And that had a huge, huge influence on me. I remember just listening to that record in my room and just like, unbelievable, these people live in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, literally, someone live on my street.
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. It's just, and I'd see the Gresham guys surfing. It's just unbelievable. And so, it's been out of press forever. And, like, Doug did repress it, but, it didn't have an insert. And, like, it's just typical Mystic garbage stuff. And it was overpriced. And I was like, fuck it. Whatever. I'm just going to re-release it. And talked to some of the guys involved with that album. They said, do it. Who cares? And I re-released it with a huge booklet, etc. And that's it.
Yeah.
I'm happy how it turned out.
Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah.
Looks good. And the art on the front is altered a tiny bit, right? It looks a little more white than black.
Well, the artwork I had the original artist Brian Walsby recreate it.
Oh,
It's a brand new art. So he just recreated it, but just cleaned it up and
he's awesome.
yeah, he's
doing
awesome.
the Retaliate LP right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's awesome. So Brian Walsby from Simi Valley, California.
Yeah,
So yeah, he did the front and back, and then I used some Chewy artwork for the insert, and has a huge insert, stickers, etc. So yeah, I'm happy.
where
with
is he
it.
now?
Chewy?
Yeah.
Chewy lives in Oxnard, and he still lives in Oxnard, and he's involved with the art world. He does some kind of sculptures.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me, but I think they're like huge sculptures.
Did you have him draw something new for you?
No, but he's going to.
Oh, sick.
He's working on it right now.
Sick.
He's working on it right now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Because he's kind of like the underrated
yeah,
artist.
he's like unsung hero of Oxnard.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
sick.
really humble, low key guy.
Yeah. This is off the topic. Like, these fucking podcasts are hard to do, like, because I'm an amateur, obviously. And it's weird because it's like you'll be talking about something and it's like, it's so hard to, like, have the balance of, like, letting you talk and then also, like, wanting to grab something out of there and ask about it,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think that one thing that gets forgot is, like, how good Ignite was in, like, the mid-90s.
Right.
Because they're a different band now, and I actually still enjoy them, and I like all the new songs. But as a hardcore band in the mid-90s,
They're untouchable.
They were insane, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Insane. I mean, they were just, they just, they knew how to play. They had the look, and they just, the perfect storm, knew how to put it all together. And one thing, like anything, they had a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
They hit the stage and they're like, hey, we're here and let's do it.
Yeah.
And let's rock. And yeah, man, they were insane.
That lineup, like, right when they got Zoli.
Right.
Yeah.
With Joe Foster, Brett. Yeah.
Yeah. Joe Foster, Brett Zoli, and Casey Jones.
Casey Jones. Yeah, Casey Jones is a great guy. Old Orange County hardcore guy. Just a great drummer. And he's a huge fan of Nardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always wearing Nardcore shirts, etc. Yeah, that was just like the perfect time. Great, yeah, Ignite. If you saw them back then, they just killed it.
Yeah, it's hard, like, to remember, sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to explain to people because they see, like, the current version. They're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, right.
It's just different.
Yeah, it's just different. They're just a touring band, just sort of not a rock band, but they just
Well, kind of a rock band, but like a good,
yeah.
like a good indie rock band.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just so different because that Ignite stuff was super powerful and interesting, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Call My Brothers. And,
Yeah.
Those.
Call My Brothers and Past Armeens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And they're actually singing about cool stuff.
Yeah. A little outside the box, but, like, I don't know. It just can't be replicated. It's like weird stuff from them. You have anything else, Fred?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this. I think it's really cool, and it's cool to document stuff because I did a fanzine, etc. And it's cool stuff to have on paper, but paper gets lost. This stuff can get archived and be there forever, and people can listen to it, and and
Hopefully. Cool. You never know. Like, there'll be some audio corruption crisis in America, and everything will be lost. Should have written it down, stupid.
Hey, thanks for having me, Zach.
Thank you, Fred.